Hey guys, so in this video we are going to add the logs to our game. Let me show you how it's going to look. So basically it's this. So we have three different lanes with logs. We have three different sizes. So we have like small logs, large ones and medium ones. And basically what we are going to do is to create the actors on our game, add a log, create a new log spawner because it's a little bit different from the turtles. I tried to reuse the code from the turtles, but it didn't. It wasn't a good option, so I ended up creating a new log spawner, and then all the rest of the code for transporting the player and for resetting the positions. It's we already have that. So we have the NPC movement that we are going to use to move the logs, and for the transport we just need to add the logs as on the transport collision group, and it will work just as with the turtles. So let me show you. And before that, you can see that we have a bug here. You see that this log is not on the doesn't have the same distance from the other one, but I have no idea why. Because the code that I'm using to create these logs is exactly the same that I'm creating these ones, and these ones work perfectly. I mean, the reset position, the initial position, the distance, everything works except for this one. And I tried everything to try to solve this, but I couldn't. So I'm just gonna leave it like this, and then probably I'll figure it out along the way. Okay, so let me show you. First of all, like I told you, we have three different logs, and in this case, initially I exported the sprite for each one of the logs. You can see that it is made of three different sprites each log, and basically when we want a bigger size, we just like increment the number of the images in the middle. And initially, I was going to import each one of the images and just recreate the logs inside the game, but I thought it was a, a lot of work, for what we are doing here. So I ended up creating each one of the images here, one for the small, one for the medium, and one for the large, and just import each one of the different actor types. I think it's a lot easier, and it doesn't affect what we are trying to do, even like customizing the game, because I don't believe on the higher levels. I don't know that if we have like different sizes of logs, but I don't think so. So probably it won't be a problem. And so let me show you. So initially I imported the actors with the images. So log small, for example, I just imported the image and I changed the collision group so it's fit with the actual image. I changed the physics, like cannot be pushed and cannot rotate. And on the properties, I added the log to the transport collision group. And this is really important because this is the only thing that we need to do to make the log work as also as a transport actor, like the turtles are being used. And I did this for all three different types of logs. And then I created, just like we had um, a turtle spawner, I ended up creating a new log spawner. And like I told you, I tried to use the code for the turtles, but the problem was that the turtles we had like two loops, so we were creating the groups of turtles, and then inside each group we were creating all the individual turtles. And on the logs we don't have that. We only need like one loop. And maybe I could add some new parameters to reuse the other code, but I think that it would be more work than actually creating just a log spawner with its own block. So I ended up creating a new one. And so you can see that I have log spawner, I have a custom block called spawn, and takes 5 parameters. So you can see that it's gonna spawn a count of log type. So we're gonna say, okay, I want to spawn 3 logs or 4 logs of this type, a small, medium, or large, starting at this position on the X and the position on the Y, and with a certain distance between them. And then what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm creating an attribute because, once again, we cannot change the value that we get from the parameter. So I created a new attribute called position X. And initially, when we run this block, I'm setting the position X to the initial position. And this is because I'm going to increment the value of position X to create the different blocks. And then we add a block to repeat the number of logs that we want. We create a log type at the position and the initial position y, and the initial position y won't change. So, but I needed to pass it also as a parameter. So we create a new log, add the position x and y, and then at the end of this, we just update the position x to prepare for the next log. And basically, the position x, what we are doing here is we are incrementing the value of the position x by the size of the log plus the distance. So basically, when we are creating the log, let's imagine that we create this one at this position, and then the position of the next one is going to be equal to the size of this block, of this log, plus the distance, and then we have the position for this one. And we keep incrementing the position x for each one of the logs. And I just discovered this block. I was not using this block before. Let me see if it was here. Yeah, you can see here. I also did the same thing. So I have a position x that I'm incrementing at the end. And you can see that I was setting the value of position x to position x plus group offset, because I didn't saw this block before. I don't know why. And the block that I'm using does exactly this. This is incrementing the value of position x. And we actually have a block to do that. So you can have increment or decrement. You can say the value, so the attribute, and you can just give the value to increment by. I don't know. I didn't saw it at the beginning, and I think this is on the numbers and text, increment, decrement. So it's here. Okay. So this block does exactly the same that I was doing with the other one, but the other one I was doing manually, incrementing the value. And so this is the code for the log spawner. And then on the game manager, just like we did with the turtles, I'm using the turtle spawner spawn. Sorry, not the turtle spawn. The log spawner spawn. And you can see that I'm using these 3 blocks here. Let me show you. Okay, so I have a block for each one of the log types. And I'm going to spawn 4 blocks of the log small that start at -96 at this Y position with 60 pixels in between. I'm going to do the same for the medium and do the same for the large. Like I was telling you, you can see that I'm using the same block for all 3 types of logs, and the medium one, it's not working correctly. I don't know. So I'll try to solve it later. I don't know if I can figure it out, if it's my problem or some bug. I'm not sure. The values that I'm using here, basically I took them from my Figma layout. So what I ended up doing was just adding like the logs here. So you can see that I have 3 logs here. One of the is outside of the screen, and then I'll just go to this one and see what's the initial position of this one, and that's the value that I'm using on the X initial value. And I did this for all the logs, so you can see that here we have 3 logs as well, and one of them is outside of the screen as well. So I got the position for this one, and I did this for all types of logs. And yeah, this is it. I mean, I added all this here. And then also what we need to do is, just a word of notice, because I always forgot to do this. When you create a new log spawner, and then it doesn't work and you don't understand why. When you create not a log spawner, when you create a new behavior for the scene, don't forget to attach the behaviors to the scene. Because otherwise, this game manager is going to be using these blocks, but since the behavior is not attached to the scene, it won't run. Took me a while to figure this out. And also, on the actors, on the logs, we also need to add the behavior of the NPC movement. So we are using exactly the same code that we are using for the cars and for the turtles. And here we have different speeds, so each one of them have a different speed. And okay, so log small, you can see that has a speed of 1.9, and this is because the small takes like close to 24 seconds to cross the screen. I just timed looking at the video, so it takes 24 seconds, and I did the usual math, like for 448, which is the width divided by the seconds that it takes, and then divided by 10. Because remember that the speed value that we are using is is corresponds to 10 pixels per second. And so I need to get the value and then divide by 10. So 1.9, and it's positive. All logs have positive values because all logs move from the left to the right. And the reset position x is in a way to create, we need to add some offset for the logs to reset the position. And this is because if the log, for example, here, let me put this here so you can see, if the logs here, for example, if it resets immediately when it goes out of the screen, you could see that if we just move this block back to here, it would be on top of this one. So we need to only reset the block when we have the correct distance from this block, and then we can reset it. And I did the same, so I just moved the blocks here and saw the exact value that I needed and added on the reset position. So you can see that the small is going to reset when it reaches a 544. The medium has the 3.7 of speed and 576. Speed is 3.7 because it takes 12 seconds. And the large 8.9 of speed because it takes 5 seconds. And the value is also 576. And I also, for this reset position to work, I needed to change also a little bit on the code that we have on the NPC movement. Because, first of all, I had the set initial position to minus 32 when the speed was greater than 0, which means that for all the actors that were starting from the left side of the screen, I was assuming that the size of the actor would always be 32 pixels, which was it was on the cars, for example. And then I realized, okay, the logs now have a bigger size, so when they are starting from the left, they cannot start at minus 32. We need to change this to start at the value is going to be the same as the width of the actor. So in terms of the logs, each log has a different width. So when they start from the left, we need to offset them exactly the same value of the width, because otherwise the actor would already appear inside the screen. So you could see the actor popping up on the screen. And so I changed this, so the initial x is going to be equal to the width times minus 1, because it's a negative value, because it's on the left side of the screen. And I also changed here on the update. And what we had before, what we had before was if we were using reset position, we were only using this one. We were using that we would reset the position when the x position of the actor would be less than the reset position, because we were assuming and we were only using this for actors moving from the right to the left, so it was always negative numbers. But now that we have the logs that are moving on the other way, we need to add a condition to also use positive numbers. So what I ended up doing was, if the speed is less than 0, which means the actor is moving right to the left, and when it reaches a position, when the x position reaches a value less than the reset position, we set the initial position, we reset the actor. And otherwise, if the speed is greater than 0 and the x position is greater than reset position, we also set the initial position, the position to the initial position. We could create a condition with all this. So we could create like if this, also like this, let me show you. I could create a condition like this and just use one of the ifs, because you see that I'm doing exactly the same on both conditions. So we could have something like this, but I think you can't read it as well, because you have like a really big block with with both conditions and ors and ands, and it's a lot of stuff. So I prefer to just duplicate here this code and have like smaller conditions here. I think it's easier to read. And here, okay, here is this one is here. And this is it. To add the logs. So we still have some bugs. So we have the bug with the medium logs. I don't know. I'll try to figure it out. And we also have some bugs when the frog is jumping between the logs and the turtles, but we already had that before with the turtle. So the first time it didn't fail. So now we can go on the turtle and jump on the logs and move on the logs. Oh, I missed that one. So here, can go here and go back. So it's working as expected. And this is it. So these are the logs, and on the next video I'm going to add the code for making the frog reach the house and come back to the beginning. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.